was
Oh
tremendous.
yes, I went through it today. It's fantastic. Yes. Mm. Oh no, I love it. Yes. And I
Well, here
think
we
I
are.
learned a
Yes.
lot for our webinar, so we can restart thinking about it after this bed.
Yeah.
Which one is this? This way it's coming up. Yeah. This is the river. Yeah.
Christoph, the video coming through, the video sound.
It's fantastic. If you keep it 1 minute more, I will be completely relaxed, closing the eyes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We good, Christoph? I can see you. Okay. I just wanted to welcome everybody. So you can see we've got virtuals up here on the screen, and then my students. Wave, everybody. Okay, so I want to welcome everybody to this first event we've held like this at our school. So we're all pretty proud of that. I just wanted to make a brief statement about what you watched at the beginning on the video. The video is called Eagle River, and it features eagles soaring across a tranquil mountain valley, along with relaxing music of silver, cedar flutes, guitar and harp. It's produced by Sounding of the Planet. The music includes embedded Earth resonance frequencies, which dolphins, whales, and crickets use to communicate. Human health is also supported by aligning with the original planet frequency. Many audiences, this video has been utilized by the Partners in Healing program for wounded veterans at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center. So it's interesting how everything gets connected. Because right before this event, we did the Operation EcoVets, right? Remember we went out to the farm. So everything seems to have a connection. And I think that's in part why we're here. I myself have been here at the school for 18, I think 19 years. And I moved from New York, which was a different scene, but my upbringing, my background is from Africa, and I think a lot of my students know that. I lived in very remote areas. My first home, it took me 7 days on my feet to get up into the mountains. We had no electricity, no running water. Oh, look, there's my mom. So that's my mom a long time ago. I wasn't born at that point. So it was very interesting because I learned a lot about nature. That's me in the middle with the little house peeking out. So I learned from a very early age to connect with nature. And what we're going to be talking about today, in conjunction with our partners at Save Our Seabirds Sanctuary, which is here in Sarasota, that connection between us as humans and other species that live with us, and in this case, birds. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot about some of the things that we're going to be doing, because there's a lot of us here who are assisting. My students did a fantastic job on creating birds, and one of my students will be explaining all about that. What have I missed? Oh, my book. You want me to show my book? So this is a book that that my father wrote, and it's about our experiences. Mostly his and my mother's, because I didn't come along until a few years after they've been together. And basically what they did was they took kids off the streets that was in Uganda, in East Africa. Took kids off the streets who were about 15 or 16 and took them up into the mountains, taught them how to grow tea, cleared the land. And then after 5 years, we'd leave and go to another place and do the same thing again. And we'd leave them to be self-sufficient with their own farmland, their own tea growing, and how to sell it and all kinds of stuff. So now that particular place up in the mountains in Yakshaka, there's 250 families up there now. It's the largest producer of tea in Eastern Africa on that particular farm. So again, this connection with farming, with nature, birds. And here in Sarasota, we have this sanctuary that takes in injured birds. For the most part, they try to release them. And I'm going to introduce a video to watch so that you guys can all sort of get an idea of what that's all about. But today's focus is on that connection between birds, and ourselves. And you will see some of the stuff that my students have done. We've already talked quite a lot about this and been working on this project. And so they will probably be helpful to guide those of you that are remote through some of this. And they will also be finishing up part of the project themselves during this workshop. Okay, so I think you probably heard a bit too much from me, so I'm going to hand over. We have, just wanted to recognize a couple of people. We got Hanadi right here. She's our spaceship coordinator. Then we got John over here, and he is our tech guy. So all this technology stuff happened because of Mr. John Wingo. Got Nan, who I think a lot of you know, Nan Summers. Shannon is our MC, hostess with the mostest. Okay, we have a couple on, Beth and Christoph, who are remote. Christoph is in Spain. Beth's in Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. Did I get everybody? Oh, and Massimo, the cameraman. You want to put your, here's Massimo in camera. All right. So with that, let's watch this segment from Save Our Seabirds Sanctuary. We had actually wanted to go out to Save Our Seabirds because one of the things, I've worked with Save Our Seabirds before with another classes a couple of years ago. And one of the great things about it is the experience of going out there and actually engaging with these injured animals, and just taking in the place and enjoying it. So we kind of got shut down on that because of COVID, which is affecting everybody and everything else in the world. So I'm hoping that things are beginning to open up here, that we'll be able to get out there with my students, and stop on the way home for ice cream like we normally do. That's the highlight of the day. So anyway, should we hit some lights and play the video? Okay.
Thank you for joining us this evening. We really miss seeing you on our Wild Bird Learning Center, and we hope that we'll be able to reopen very soon. In the meantime, we thought it might be fun to bring a little bit of the Wild Bird Learning Center to you, and also to give you a little sneak peek behind the scenes of what goes on at Save Our Seabirds every day. But first, we have a very exciting announcement to share with you. For the first time in the history of Save Our Seabirds, we now have an actual licensed veterinarian in charge of our hospital. Her name is Dr. Maria Passarelli, and you'll get to meet her at the end of this video. With Dr. P on board, we'll now be able to do a lot of procedures in-house that we never could do before. That should really help improve our already impressive success rate with sick and injured birds. Also, with Dr. P on board, we will be able to really elevate the level of our educational programs in our hospital to help create the next generation of avian veterinarians, but also my personal goal to help create the next generation of environmentalists. So please stay tuned for that interview at the end of this video. But now we'd like to take you on a little behind the scenes tour of a day in the life of Save Our Seabirds, narrated by our very own board members, Ann Anderson and Jim Curtis. Enjoy.
The sun is rising over our little corner of paradise, a paradise we share with many other living creatures, including the spectacular and fascinating birds we see all around us.
Right behind Save Our Seabirds, the brown pelicans are just waking up.
And at SOS, our senior hospital technician, Jonathan, is the first to arrive. Checking the after-hours drop-off boxes, he finds that no new patients have arrived overnight. Well, that's good news.
That is good news. And now I see that Freckles, the wood stork, has stopped by. Freckles is a former patient who often visits, hoping to swipe a fish or two when feeding rounds begin.
Jonathan is starting off the day by checking on our patients in the big wing section of our hospital, where our larger patients are kept. He's moving a laughing gull from its overnight cage to a clean one, and he's making a note on the gull's chart. Keeping detailed records is very important.
And next door in the kitchen, Tara is preparing food for our 120 resident birds. Birds that cannot be released back into the wild are given permanent homes here, and they are very well fed. First up, fish for the fish eaters. SOS goes through an astounding 18 tons of fish a year to feed patients and permanent residents.
That's a lot of fish. In the triage room, where our patients are treated, Jonathan is examining and putting a new dressing on a white ibis, who came to us with a severe wing wound.
Such a beautiful bird. And now Jonathan is checking the condition of a sweet little palm warbler that crashed into a window. Flying into clear windows is a common hazard for birds, but people can help. Making windows more visible to birds to break the illusion that they can fly through can help prevent such collisions.
Back in the kitchen, Tara is preparing food puzzles for some of the birds of prey. This form of enrichment makes the birds do a little work and a little problem solving to get their food. Just like humans, it's important for these intelligent birds to exercise their brains.
The kitchen is always busy, but it's even more busy during the baby bird season. Each year we receive dozens of baby birds that have been knocked out of their nests and require intensive, sometimes round-the-clock care and very specialized feeding.
There's an emergency in the hospital. A royal tern has been brought in with a fishing lure hooked through its beak and its tongue. The bird likely saw this fish-like lure in the water and mistook it for food. Being hooked or entangled in fishing line is one of the most common causes of injury we see at SOS. You can tell Jonathan has had a lot of experience with this. He carefully cuts off the barbed end of the hook so he can pull it out without further tearing the bird's mouth. Proper disposal of fishing gear and care while casting can help prevent such injuries. And if you ever see a bird tangled in fishing line, please call us at Save Our Seabirds.
Speaking of injuries, in the office, Operations Manager Jocelyn is taking a call about a pelican in trouble. She is dispatching our expert rescuer, Dave Thomas, one of our dedicated volunteers. This poor brown pelican has been stuck in that channel marker for several days. It is emaciated and weak. Look how expertly Dave captures it to bring it back to SOS for healing, rehab, and hopefully release. The best possible outcome. This is why SOS exists. Since the start of the pandemic, SOS has rescued and treated over 900 birds in distress.
The birds definitely still need our help. Meanwhile, down on the birdwalk, Jonathan is checking on our resident birds.
His first stop is to say good morning to Gabby, our umbrella cockatoo. While we do not take in exotic birds anymore, and we strongly discourage owning any kind of a bird as a pet, we still have about a dozen that were surrendered to us years ago because their owners could no longer take care of them.
Now he's over to the pelican habitat. There's Sweet Pea, SOS's official spokespelican. Sweet Pea is a brown pelican who was born with a condition called angel wing, so she cannot fly properly, but she loves people, and it looks like she would like to give us a tour to meet some of her feathered friends. Hello, Sweet Pea. Let's go.
How exciting! Many people don't realize how many birds live here at Save Our Seabirds. But SOS is not a zoo. All of these wild birds, including Sweet Pea, started in the SOS hospital, and each has a story. They're at SOS because although they feel great, they couldn't survive in the wild. Here they have a good life thanks to the SOS staff and volunteers.
Here's just what you were talking about. Every single day, every single habitat is thoroughly cleaned, just like Liliana is doing now.
Now let's go meet some of our permanent resident birds. First up, Sweet Pea's neighbors, the anhingas and double-crested cormorants.
These birds actually swim underwater to catch their food. Because of that, they often get entangled in discarded fishing line or are hooked by lures. Even worse, they are at high risk of being struck by motorboats.
Sweet Pea seems fascinated by the great egret. Such beautiful birds.
This majestic bird and other wading birds were almost hunted to extinction in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Their beautiful feathers were highly prized for use in fashionable women's hats. Fortunately, they are now protected by federal law.
Well, thank goodness for that. No feathers for me. Now let's go visit the sandhill cranes. Did you know that 2 of our resident sandhill cranes, Lady and Peeps, serve as surrogate parents for injured or orphaned sandhill crane colts? They teach the colts important sandhill crane skills, including how to forage for food.
Look at the legs on that little one. I can see why sandhill crane chicks are called colts. And what incredible teachers Lady and Peeps are.
Yes, they do a great job. And when the time comes, our rehabilitated sandhill crane colts can be united with their doting parents again, back in the wild where they belong.
Here comes Rachel with a special delivery for Stella and Stanley, the black vultures on the birdwalk. Stanley and Stella were both hit by cars while scavenging by the side of the road. It's time for their lunch. Since black vultures are scavengers, they like to eat almost any kind of raw meat that you can think of.
Look at them tear at those bags. In the wild, birds are constantly searching for food, making new discoveries, and actively interacting with their environment. Enhancing our resident birds' quality of life by adding excitement and variety to their daily routines is so important to us.
Speaking of variety, let's go visit our owls. We have 4 different species of owls living at SOS right now.
And these are the largest, great horned owls. These owls were struck by cars as they chased their prey across the road. One has a blind eye, while the others have a dislocated shoulder and wing injuries. Great horned owls are the most common owls of the Americas. They are so strong that a 3-pound owl can pick up and carry away a 9-pound animal. And by the way, those are not ears that you see, but merely tufts of feathers on their heads.
We can help prevent injuries to birds of prey and scavenger birds by keeping trash off of roadsides.
Looks like Sweet Pea wants to go visit Armando.
And here he is, Armando, our crested caracara. Armando was brought to us after he and his mate were shot by a careless hunter. His wing was shattered and, sadly, his mate was killed.
There goes Sweet Pea, heading off towards the education center. That's one of her favorite places.
Yes, this area is usually full of kids of all ages doing activities and learning a lot about birds and the environment. It's empty now, but don't worry, it will come to life again soon. We look forward to welcoming back all of our visitors and our dedicated volunteers who help us feed the birds and keep these grounds immaculate.
I think Sweet Pea is ready to go home. She's had a long day.
Thanks for the tour, Sweet Pea. It was so interesting to get a peek inside the hospital, and I feel like there are so many more stories to hear about on SOS's Birdwalk.
So true. But in the end, our goal is always to return rehabilitated birds to the wild where they belong, to live out their lives in this beautiful paradise we all call home. With your help, we can continue to keep them safe and help protect them from future harm.
Hey guys, my name is Shannon, and I just want to go ahead and go over the breakdown of what's going to be happening in today's session. It's going to be broken up into 3 different segments. The first one's going to be the engage segment, second one's going to be the activates segment, and the third is going to be the reflect segment. In the engage segment, we're going to focus on how nature's needs are similar to our own, kind of similar to what David has talked about prior to the video, and then we're also going to reflect on these professionals that we just met from Sarasota who are putting their mission of saving our seaboards into action. The next section that we're going to be doing is the activate. This is kind of going to be the bulkier section of our session today, And first, we're going to invite you to step into the shoes of birds to understand the unique design of every creature by participating in a crane walk that's going to be led by Nan over here. Second, we're going to go into a bird drawing. We're going to learn how to draw some birds. And third, we're going to discuss the bird trading cards, and participants will also have the opportunity, both face-to-face here and digitally, to create their own trading card and discuss it within breakout rooms or within your tables right in front of you. And after that, we're going to wrap up by reflecting on what we're learning and applying it more broadly to the context of sustainability. So before we do that, I would love to discuss the 3 levels of empathy so we can contribute and take these with us as we go through our session. The first is understanding our relationship with non-human creatures and how this affects us. And the second is viewing the ability to care for others as a mirror of our ability to care for ourselves. And the third is actively contributing towards the health and well-being of future life generations, ours included, and other organisms other than humans, which is honestly my favorite portion. I would love, both digitally and in the face-to-face, if you have any specific questions, type them into the chat or raise your hand and we'll get to you as quickly as we can. Probably going to address the most questions in the reflection portion of the event. With that, I would love to hand it over to Nan, who's going to lead our next session and activate.
Thank you, Shannon, so much. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today. And this is an exciting time in our future of how we're going to create the world that works for all our creatures. So when David was talking about living with the wildlife as a part of every experience that he had, we also have that opportunity ourselves. And one of the places that I had the opportunity to live, which is right in Southwest Florida, where there were the natural cranes that we just saw in the Save Our Seabirds. And here's an example of how tall they are. And I'd like you to think about the personal experiences that you have with the creatures that have been around you. But I had the privilege of coming home from work when I was in Manatee County's natural resources and looking at 30,000 acres of preserves, parks, beaches. And then in my own backyard, I was able to see hundreds of sandhill cranes, and they would come at the sunset and they would roost carefully in places on the water, just steps away from me. They would come right up to my house. But what they did was they showed a connection with each other. They would talk to each other. They would assemble at the end of the day, and then they would quiet down in the evening. And in the morning, they would get up and they would just take off like planes on a runway, flying in the different directions that they were going to spend their day. And I always wondered how they planned where they were going to go. But it's the watching and the being part of being present with our fellow creatures that's exciting. That I hope you will share that with the birds that you've chosen to focus on. And the one thing that I want to share too is that cranes also are in all 5 continents around the world. So this is something that many generations have looked upon these birds as examples of lots of symbolism. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Jessica Lippem, who she will tell you what she does a little bit, and she's going to explain how the ancient understanding of these magnificent creatures is relevant to us today.
With Sarasota Healing Arts. So lovely to be here with you today. I am a naturopath, an acupuncturist, an herbalist, and a Qigong teacher. According to Chinese medicine, Qigong is the #1 way to preserve your health and wellness, and Qigong was developed by simply observing nature. Today we will share with you the white crane walking form of Qigong, which is a meditative martial art. And I encourage you to find time for your own observations in nature and discover how nature can help you heal. Thank you. According to the classical texts, the crane is graceful, standing like a pine. It opens its wings and soars into the clouds, spreading its wings It lands, poised on one leg. Its chi rises and sinks with no sense of heaviness.
Can you hear me? Okay, let's hit the lights. Can you get the lights? All right, everybody stand. Where's Ariel? Come over here, hon. Okay, so at this point, we're going to do the crane dance. Walk, the walking crane. Remember we talked about yesterday, we talked about Tai Chi and we talked about things like yoga, right? Like Brody mentioned yoga as being like Tai Chi. It's a centering thing. It's a strength thing. It's a mind thing. It's a meditative thing. So you are going to follow Ariel's wonderful lead, who has already mastered in 30 seconds how to do the crane walk. All right. So stretch out. Okay, let's get a little stretch. Touch your toes. You're gonna do this, so push your chairs in and don't fall over your bags, because we're recording this. Everybody's watching at home and everybody's watching here. I want to see some perfect crane stuff. So if you're at home, please find a space. Watch the video. Where's Ariel? All right. Ariel is gonna. Is everyone watching? Over here, please. Do you want to do it on the floor or you want to do it on the stage? She don't want to do it on the stage. Too much attention. All right. So watch. See, professional. All right, it's up also on the screen. Thank you, Ariel. All right, let's do it, everybody. Find a space. Let's go. You're all doing it, so come on. You got it? Go ahead. I don't know. My cranes aren't doing too. You got it? You got it? The hard part's it. Was that ballet? I did ballet. Sorry. You got it? Go for it, Brody. I'm watching. Tyree, let me see your bird, man. Come on, show me some bird. There you go. Marcy. All right, guys, the camera's on you now, so you've had a chance to practice. Let's see you. Let's see us all do it. Do at least one for the camera. Come on, Brandon. I'm watching you. Don't make me call you out, because you know I'll call you out. Mr. Williams will get you too. You good? See? You'll be going up in a minute, I'll tell you. Don't worry, you'll be fine. You're in the breakout. You're in the breakout stage. Yeah. Should we put her on stage? All right, guys. Thank you. You can sit down now. All right. What's next? Okay, so I'm going to hand it back to you, Shannon. Do you need a thing? Oh, you're going to, Nan's going to introduce Eric, our resident animator, who's not here. But we would never know because he's on video. All right, guys, settle down.
That was fun to watch you all. I hope that you understand that there's a healing part to what we were doing. It strengthens your heart, it strengthens your respiratory system, it works on your balance and stability. So you can use that anytime. You don't even have to walk a long way, but that's a great calming way. And so one of the things that the people that I've worked with in my years with Disney, when they were working on creating characters and stories, is that they really understood how their characters would move. That was a really important part of being able to draw or present. So I have another friend to introduce you to. His name is Eric Sweetman, and he has been a puppeteer, which is the ultimate, what we were doing. He has been a character himself. He works with the entertainment division at Walt Disney World, and he's leading. He would be with us today, but he's in the new Lion King show in the Animal Kingdom. So instead, he has sent some information to share with you about how he creates his characters by understanding how creatures move. I should say this would be a good time to get your piece of paper out and drawing so that you can draw along with Eric a little bit and think about your own birds that you chose.
Hi, I'm Eric Sweetman. I'm a cartoonist and an illustrator, and I'm here to do a little sketching for you. We've been learning about how delicate our natural world is, and how important it is to keep our native plants and animals safe and healthy. Shorebirds in particular face threats because of human activities. For one thing, people like to live near the beach, but we aren't very good neighbors to the creatures that already live there. We are loud, messy things that like to change the land to suit our wants, instead of adapting to the land. We pollute the water, which kills the food the birds eat, which in turn kills the birds. Now, as a cartoonist, I have learned that it's not always enough to tell somebody about a problem. Sometimes you have to help them remember it. I do this by creating a cartoon character of the animal in question, a spokesbird, if you will. I'm going to share with you the drawing of this character. The time-lapse video does go a little bit too fast to be able to follow along, but maybe by looking at it and watching this, you'll have a better idea of how to create your own character, your own spokesbird for your particular shoreline. I chose to base my drawing on a blue heron, but there are many different types of herons to choose from. They're recognized by their long bills, long legs, and their S-curved neck. They are spread across most shorelines on the planet. First, I collected a couple of reference photos from a quick web search. I'm not copying the photos, but I do need to know what this kind of bird looks like. I enjoy how its plumage looks like it has an interesting little hairstyle, as well as the beard of the long, thin feathers that form around the base of its neck. For this particular illustration, I chose to only slightly anthropomorphize the character, which means I gave it a few human characteristics, made it more friendly. It had its eyes a little open wider, the mouth turning into a smile, even the wing looking more of like an open hand. I chose to do this so he's more accessible, more appealing to the audience, rather than just being a bird that people really can't connect with. As you can see, I go over each of the lines that I did very light and sketchy at the beginning and add a little more darkness, a little more pressure in order to define some of the shapes that I want or some of the values that I'm looking for. He's got those long bony legs with the backwards knees. Here I'm looking at the pin feathers and trying to really define them the way I saw in some of the other reference photos of how their plumage looked. I decided to give the background a tone, and that way I could add light highlights to be able to bring out some contrast rather than just having it be a outline drawing. Again, increasing the contrast. Got to get those feet in there. They have 3 claws going forward and then 1 going backwards.
Hi, it's me again. I am back to introduce Abby over here, the youngest participant in this event. She is a whopping 9 years old. Super important to note. And she herself came up with this idea of a bird trading card that you guys are going to have the opportunity to develop and exchange within your table or within your personal breakout room. But first, let's talk about Abby's trading card. So do you have your picture? And tell everybody what you drew for the front of your trading card. What kind of animal?
A cardinal.
A cardinal. Okay. So what about the cardinal made you choose it?
Because it's a beautiful color.
It is a beautiful color. What emotion ties you to this bird?
Love because it's red.
Love because it's red. What do you feel presently when you think about the bird?
Happy.
What do you hope for in the future for this bird?
All birds are
All
protected.
birds are protected. And then Nala over here, part of the middle school group that is hosting this event for us, has come up with a different about a pelican, and I'm just going to let her explain hers herself.
Hello. My name is Nyla Harris. I am 13 years old in 7th grade, and I currently attend Sarasota School of Arts and Sciences in Sarasota, Florida. The fellow students and I are currently in a digital art class. And in this class, we are taught different techniques and skills on how to create and produce digital designs. To produce our art, we use Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, and Adobe InDesign. For the current piece that we have currently produced, we used Adobe Illustrator. In this app, we uploaded a picture and then we used a pencil tool to trace over it and sketch out our piece. After, we fill in the individual shapes with color, and we use the stroke tool to add dimension and realism to our art pieces. For this current assignment, we were required to select a bird that we felt a personal connection to from the Save Our Seabirds Endangered Species list. So I chose the white American pelican. So these birds remind me very much of myself because they resemble charity, social responsibility, and friendliness. But then at times, these birds can be more to themselves and be more reserved and tranquil. When I was in elementary, I used to go on field trips. We would go to the mangroves and we would do dip netting, and I was very intrigued by the birds as they gracefully grazed on the water. In the present, as I see these birds, I feel relaxed, and it makes me feel as if I'm connected to the nature. In the future, I hope that these birds can be protected and nurtured so future generations can have the experience to see these beautiful birds.
Awesome. That was really beautiful. I want to invite both of you to show your pictures that you have developed and illustrated to the camera so that our digital attendees can see them. And show yours to the camera. Perfect, just like that. So on the left there, we have the red cardinal, and then on the right, we have the pelican. So I'm going to introduce this new segment that is still part of the Activate session. We are going to go into breakout rooms if you're in a part of our digital attendance, and then you're going to work with your table if you're in our in-person session, and we are going to develop our own bird trading cards and then kind of discuss within your breakout room or within your table what made you choose this bird, how this bird makes you feel in the present, and what you hope for this bird for the future. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get into your breakout rooms and discuss with your table.
Do we have sound still?
Okay,
Yeah?
perfect. So we can continue.
Okay. So Gian says, I chose this bird because it reminds me of my neighbor. And is it a cockatoo? Parakeet, something like that? Cockatoo. Reminds me of my neighbor who has had this bird as a pet. This neighbor died a couple of months ago. Okay.
Oh.
So you remember the person because of the bird, right? Okay. This bird reminds me of the present time because this time the birds do not get, what do you mean they don't get what they need? Okay, so in the environment, because why? Because like we're destroying the environment, right? Okay, so that means that we need to do something about it, right? So future is this bird reminds me of the future because I trust Save Our Seabirds to help the birds. So there's a connection right there.
Yeah, I like that.
Thanks,
Connecting it
Gianna.
back to Save Our Seabirds. So how
Okay.
about that?
Are we going to go to Christoph and Beth now?
Okay, we're going to take it
All right.
to Christoph and Beth. They have a little something that they would love to contribute to this segment.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a delight to be here. Thank you for your inspiring stories about the birds that you chose. And I think one of the pieces that stays with me as a result of the experience that we're having is it's really easy for us to connect with an animal when we take that 6-second pause. You may have seen in the information about our session that we're connected to the 6 Seconds Emotional Intelligence Network. And so all the things you've learned about today is about how do we stay connected to ourselves and what really, really matters. And the animals are a part of us and we're a part of the animals. And so that 6-second pause that I described, that we stop and notice things and then choose how we react, that's really what we've been doing. And that's why it's called the 6 Seconds Network. So I hope that when you're out and about, that you'll take that pause when you see a bird or an animal, a tree or a flower, something in the water, a manatee perhaps, that you'll pause and connect with it and then connect back to yourself.
Thanks, Beth. I heard recently somebody told me that when your thoughts are quiet, you can hear the birds sing. And that just kind of reminded me of what you said.
Absolutely.
Off to Christoph, I guess.
I'm nearly speechless. I found it wonderful listening also to the 3 cards presented here. And what it tells me that it's not about science when we talk about birds and nature. It's much more about we connect to nature. So we can be 9 years old as we saw, or we can be old like I am. But the connection comes from inside, and it goes, and we connect with it. And I think there's a lot of power in it because if you open up for this connection, as for example the kids did in the room just there, what I found fantastic, just to open up and to give it space to connect to nature, there's so much we can save. I think we myself, so many years I was more on the scientific part to understand nature, to describe nature, but I didn't feel nature. So, And I learned now that feeling nature is so important to get them safe. So and I'm so happy to see you there in this school, that you learn both. You learn the science and you learn how to feel nature and to feel birds. And I think at the beginning it was said that we're talking about empathy, and this is so important. I think empathy is a word we use so much. We use it when we talk about ourselves, we use it when we talk about other people, when we say we have to be more empathic. But if we bring it to the context of be empathic with nature and including birds, which are not the nice animals we have at home. These are the birds flying there in the sky we may never touch, but we can be empathic with them and we can feel with them, yes. Or the birds which will maybe not even born now, we can be empathic with it. So the next step, for the next year, let's be empathic with a tree.
Yeah, I agree.
So thank you very much for letting me be here.
Okay, so I think with that, we're going to move into. Yeah, does anybody from the digital section of the session want to share any thoughts about what they have learned during our 3 parts of our portion of the segments here?
I just can come in and I can say I really loved the bird walk. It's not just an exercise, and it's not just healing or anything. It is actually having empathy with the birds. So when you walk like a bird, maybe you can start to feel like a bird. And it really reminded me of this ballet and how this is, as if you're dancing. So dancing like birds was one of the very interesting part of this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. So I guess with that, we'll move into the reflection session as Christoph, Beth, and others have just started off. I would just like to say that you specifically right in front of me and those young people watching at home, we are the young people. We're the ones who are about to inherit this earth. And it's definitely our choice and our responsibility to make this society, including organisms that are not human, more ethical than the one we grew up in. And I really think that that starts by regarding the emotions of animals equal to our own and making that shape our attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors in the future. So I hope that you will take this with you as you enter adulthood sooner than you realize and kind of act this way within your career and within the rest of your life. And I would love to invite everybody who has contributed to this event up onto the stage so we can close it out.
Why don't you put your 2 cents in?
Hi, can everyone hear me? Fine. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. We didn't expect any of that to happen and came out of nowhere, but thank you everyone for being here and thank you for sharing these moments with us as we learn to appreciate nature from a different level. So
Thanks everyone for joining the meeting. We really appreciate it. Everything went fairly well. We're going to work on our tech side of it a little bit more and see how things work. But I think overall, this is our great cameraman. Thank you so much, sir. You did a great job. And everything went well. Everybody did a great job in here. Thank you guys.
I don't think they want to
I have to share that I am inspired to start my Qigong practice again. So thank you for that, an unintended result of today's
Yes.
experience.
We may need some office, some bigger office, or be outside to do the crane walk in the right way.
It's true. It's true. I was a little confined here, but I did the best I could.
Yes.
It was
But it's-
difficult for me with the wire and the with the earphones. I was moving one step forward and one step backwards.
Yes, me too. So we invented a new crane.
There we are.
One of my cats was sitting on my lap, so I kind of just was flapping my wings.
Oh, that's great too.
I just wanted to just say one last thing. We're doing a reflection time. I know online already that you're discussing things about the forum and what we just did. I wanted to thank my students here for participating. And we will continue with that. We're going to leave you because we'll leave the session on, but we're going to exit as kids because we actually have to move cameras and we got live streaming basketball games to do next. So we're moving ahead. But I just wanted to thank all of the participants too for allowing us to participate, and good luck. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. What a wonderful session.